Welcome to the Show Me Podcast with your host, Jeff Livingston. Every episode, a guest joins Jeff and discusses how images tell stories and what makes them work or not.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Show Me Podcast. We're in season 2. I don't know what episode this is because we're recording a bunch just to start, and we'll drop them all in January. And today promises to be one of the better episodes because I have one of my best photography buddies on earth, Mr. Nana Gyesie. How are you, sir?
Blessed.
Welcome to the podcast. So,
Thank you.
Nana is an amazing, amazing spiritual photographer. But you know what? I tell you something, man. This guy really is on the journey. And if you are an artist or you're kind of like one of these people that believes in flow and just getting into the zone and being in the place, Nana is one of us. And I've really enjoyed my time getting to know him over the past 4 years. I've shot with him on a couple of adventures, one in Cuba, one in Olympic National Park, and lots of little side adventures in the District of Corruption. And I miss Nana greatly because we lost him to Seattle. But he's in town, he's on. So welcome.
It's family. Thank you. Great to be here with you, Jeff.
How you been, man?
You know, the last few months have been really incredible. I think as a person and as an artist, as a professional, as a photographer, I'm going through a very fascinating transformation, right? And it hasn't appeared in my new work yet because it's very new, but I'm beginning to go inside more and more and more, just connecting to what you just talked about. And I think that shows in the work. If you think about many master photographers, I'm not claiming, but we aspire to be like them.
Okay, Bresson.
We
Right.
You
No,
have
I
to have,
getcha.
it's you.
We have some of your later work. We're going to
Thank you.
show it. But one of the things we do on this podcast in particular is we always like to talk about an influencer, somebody that impacted the way you look at photography. And today we're going to look at an image by Graciela Iturbide. Thank you.
I'm not going to.
Right. So she did a famous photograph, and it was the day of the iguanas. She was photographing some Native Americans in Mexico, something that even Cartier-Bresson was known for doing, some of these ancient Aztec tribes, right? And but her photographs have become the iconic photographs, and this particular photo with the iguana, this is the photo. Is that correct?
It is. And in many ways, what I know about this photo, it was taken in 1979 in it's a part of Mexico. I think it's called, I forget what it's called. It's Juchinta, Jacinto, I think it is. And this lady in this photograph is actually an indigenous Indian. She's from the Zapotec tribe, and I think her name is Zubeida. That's her real name. And the iguanas you see on her head are actually things she's selling them. She's about to sell them because it's a delicacy in that part of Mexico.
Really?
Yeah. And as the story goes, as Graciela tells the story, Miss Graciela Iturbide, with all due respect, she spent about a year in that part of Mexico just observing the Zapotec tribe or people, this community, and realized that there was a strong sense of femininity.
Right, women of power, right?
Well,
That's what that tribe is known for.
Exactly. Where equal partners with a man, and maybe but they run the household. And for her, this picture was sort of an affirmation of that observation she'd made that she wasn't able to quantify. And it has a bit of a surrealist, even spiritual, as well as, I don't want to say feminist, because that plays into kind of labeling that may have meaning or may not. But
Right.
to me, the sense of a woman who is a woman,
Right.
in all her glory. And I think it's relevant, particularly now, since there are all references to the feminine divine or the age of...
It's
all
Zapotec
that.
women. I'm pulling up the
Exactly.
Smithsonian article, which we'll put in the show notes, right?
Yep.
But yeah.
Yeah. So when I saw this, it had a real visceral impact on me because, I mean, the iguanas are sort of lizards I
Right.
would normally be terrified.
I would
of, right?
be
I don't want
freaked.
to touch it. But this one has them on her head, and she's got this absolute composure and this sort of out of the world look in her eyes where she's sort of channeling something.
Right. And the angle's very interesting, too,
Really.
because usually when you shoot women in particular, you don't shoot them bottom up like that.
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
In large part because they don't like the way their chins look. It's not flattering from a weight perspective. We've all seen the many photos of cute little things that probably look cuter because they have their phone almost directly over their head. They're shooting top down for that angle. But like in this case, the way the angle is shot, it gives her the what I call the small man pose, which is usually how you shoot short little guys to give them that power pose. She's got a lot of power, and the way the light is coming in on her, her chin is still cut up, so she looks, she looks strong, she looks powerful. It's not at all sexualized in any way. It's all about the essence of her soul.
Look at that's the word, the essence of her soul. Look at those eyes. Look at those eyes.
Yeah, strength.
Yeah. But beyond that, there's sort of I don't want to over mystify the picture, but there's a quality there that is transcendent, right? She even looks like she doesn't realize those iguanas on her head, or she does, but she has a sense of responsibility that transcends the moment, and she's connected to something else.
Well, it's totally natural for her.
Yeah, totally. And these things, I wouldn't touch them, but she has them on her head, right? And Graciela shot with a Rolleiflex at that time, so that is some of that perspective there.
Well, you know Kurth, right?
Yeah. Kurt Bob. Yeah.
Right. So Kurth and I just did a podcast.
Great photographer. I like his work.
Fantastic.
I looked at some of his recent work, and he's amazing.
He's on this batch of episodes that's coming out as well.
Cool.
But he was talking about another photographer also with a lot of what I would call more indigenous types of people scenes. And like the discussion, this is not a shot it's not a shot that actually seems to what I would call take advantage of other people for the sake of like, oh, look, I'm in South India and I'm in the middle of the bush and I'm taking a photo. It's more like, wow, this is a person. This is who they are. This is more natural.
Exactly. And I think to the point, and if I'm talking too much, you can tell me, but I think the sensibility that we bring is as a humanity, a dignity and a humanity, right? So even if you're taking something that's obviously derisive, there's still a humanity, a respect. And I think if you bring that to the picture, you get people who respond to you and like, right?
Very cool.
So what you put out there comes back to you,
basically. So how has her work kind of impacted your work?
Well, she's influenced by Sebastião Salgado, who for me is...
That's who we talked about with Kurth.
Oh, did you? Okay, so his work...
All roads lead to Rome.
Exactly. All roads lead to Rome. You know, what I like about Salgado is he was an economist, worked at the World Bank, which I did as well, and left that with that sensibility about the world. And some of his early work about showing marginalized people in black and white, you see that in this image, because in this image, she was a mom, regular suburban wife, had a moment that was transformational for her. She picked up a camera, and she's made such an incredible impact with influences that are in the tradition of humanist or documentary photography, I think, right? And I think when you photograph people like this, in my view, my humble opinion, I'm actually photographing a reflection of how I see the world, right?
Right.
So there is a certain thing there that I think we should handle with absolute respect, sensitivity, and a sense of responsibility.
Yeah.
These images have the potential to be transformative, even to one person, right?
That's awesome. So let's talk about how we first shot together, which was in Cuba.
Yeah.
This is one of your shots.
Yep. I remember that.
And it's on your website, actually, so that's where I grabbed it.
Got
I
it.
stole imagery from your site.
No, you have rights there.
I've printed it and made it mine.
You have rights, Jeff.
I was there.
Yep.
So we ended up on this trip together with a few other folks, and it was like this great kind of like citizen journalism trip where we ended up creating a book.
Gosh.
Right, 7 and 10. And 7 photographers, 10 frames of Cuba each. And So one of the things that struck me about the way you shot down there was the way you would just walk right up to people and start engaging. And you got what I would call rapport, what most photographers talk about when they talk about portrait photography as rapport. But you're just going up to people on the street, doing it, getting their shots, getting their souls. There were some fantastic photos that came out of that. And so, like, while this is really kind of like a mood setter for that trip in a way, for you, that trip was really about the street and the people of Cuba.
It was all about the people.
Or Havana, I should say.
Exactly. So we spent time in Havana. We went out one day.
Right. Well, we were,
But we really just cared about really getting to terms with what Havana is, right? Rather than our perspective or our view of what it was. And you're right. I believe that when I encounter people on the streets, they have something to teach me.
Right.
Because I'm a seeker, I like to learn, whether I agree with them or not. So that's important. And I approach them, firstly, without thinking. I just go for it, right? Because when you think, it stops you.
Right.
And the worst thing you can do on the street is to think, be aware, look around you, protect yourself, be aware of your surroundings. But when you see something you're attracted to, right? There's a visceral, authentic moment. The moment you think it breaks, you know this. You do this very well too, Jeff. It breaks the cycle, right? Yes, of course, you. Jeff, you have to be self.
Is this the wrong guy?
You have to be. You have to stop being self-effacing. You're one of the best photographers I know.
You're kind.
But beyond that.
It's not about me. This is about you. Let's talk about you.
Fine. Yes. So I think thinking on the streets is thinking when you're inspired is horrible.
Right.
Because it saps the creativity.
The only time I think that works is when you're fishing.
That's true.
The only time I think that works is when you see a setting, you know what people are doing in that setting, and you're waiting for somebody to come in and do it.
Exactly.
Right.
That's one frame of mind. You go into the street, some nights, that's all you're doing, when you're staking it out, right?
Right.
Other times, exactly.
But that's literally the shot, like where you, like, I just posted one like this where I was waiting for people on the metro to get there so I could show people commuting on the metro. And
I saw that with the sky.
Right. Had nothing to do with the people.
It's incredible.
It was more of a scene, right? It was more about a feeling, an essence, a journey.
So,
but that's not the personality, right?
Well, it's not. But the thing is,
so
anyway,
go ahead.
I know we're talking photography, so I want to spend this 30 seconds in this. You look at this picture, right? And for me, this is symptomatic of the type of journey we would take.
Right.
Everybody takes a journey like this.
That's why it says it's the road to nowhere.
So see, I got it.
Now you got it.
Okay.
All right.
Back to me.
But back to you. Enough about me. What do you think about me?
I think you're one of the best people in the world. And that's a fact.
So back to getting the people.
Yeah.
And really kind of jamming with them. Like, let's bring up one of your photos of a portrait. Now, this is one from the Women's March in 2017, which was much, much more of an event that year than it was in 2018. A lot of angst towards the president for who he is and what he's done in the past. But this photo really struck me, and it struck me for a couple of reasons. First of all, she's topless, right? And she's obviously got herself covered up a little bit with, I guess, the pasties and all that. But usually when you see shots like that for street photographers, it's about her being naked, right? I don't get that from her. I mean, what I get out of this and the way you took this portrait, and it was clear that she allowed you to take this portrait, was her true sense of indignation. That came through. Can you talk about that?
Yes,
what happened with this shot?
I can. And here I would sort of reveal a bit of my sort of African perspective, originally from Ghana. And the worst thing in Ghana, in any tribe, is when a woman gets completely upset or indignant about a situation and she strips. It's sort of the worst thing. It's the worst form of protest. It's the most potent form of protest because what the woman's doing is exposing her most sacred possession. I mean, the women can do whatever they want. Right? I'm not an expert on feminist theory.
Moving along.
No, we can talk about this. We'll engage. We learn. It's the era of the divine feminine. I honor my mother, my sister, and all the lovely women. My lovely fiance who I love dearly.
Thank you.
Peace and love.
That's Panama's got to come in there.
Yes. But anyway, the point is, when women do that, it's actually from points of deep spirituality and a sense of trying to right the wrong. And when I saw this lady, I remember this moment very distinctly. It was right across from the Trump Hotel on what's that avenue?
12th and Penn.
12th and Penn, yeah. And we made eye contact, and I showed her my camera, right? And she agreed.
And she covered her face.
And we had a sort of, it was a collaboration that lasted maybe 3 seconds.
Right.
Of instant respect. She didn't even look at the picture because she was there to really protest. This protest was probably the most dense and largest protest I've ever seen. January 21st,
right,
2017. You
MLK
were there.
Weekend.
Well, we shot that weekend and we did the pre.
But I was not allowed to go to the march.
Ah, got it. Okay.
Caitlin said, "You're taking care of the girl. I'm
going.
to
Fair point for to do that. But it was a very powerful moment. She looked at me. She understood. The key here is, see, you have to assume that the people that you meet on the streets are as intelligent or more intelligent than you are, and get what you're doing if you approach them with honesty.
Right.
And this has been the case wherever I've gone.
Nobody says no to me anymore about taking photos, right?
Exactly, because you're approaching them. Even if they say no, it's not the end of the world.
I'd
you feel
rather not have the
for
photo,
a second, then
right.
you move on, right? Because it messes with the vibe of the photo. But she was, and I thank her, whoever she is, if anybody knows who she is, if you recognize her, big respect to this lady who allowed me to take this picture, and it's sort of emblematic of her showing her despondency at the election of Trump at that time.
Right.
Him being the duly elected president of the United States. I need to say that too.
So,
yeah.
Along those veins, like one of the photos that I see you take regularly, and because of you, I now take some of these photos as well. And I actually just published a MAGA photo maybe like 2 months ago.
Did I see that?
Yeah, I'll show it to you. I'll pull it up. But, one of the things that struck me about it was, again, here's another person. She's a human being.
Yeah.
Cannot agree
Totally.
with her in any way politically,
Yeah.
but this is a person. This is a human being. This is an authentic street photo. Why do you insist? You insist that it's important to photograph Trumpers, so to speak, and in their natural light and enjoying themselves in that light.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So thank you for actually picking up on that, Jeff. You're an astute observer. All people, right? Let's see that.
Yeah, it's shot on Lomachrome purple film.
Which is interesting because he's a person of color. And he's proudly, and I have a photo I took today of someone in front of the White House with the same thing. So there's a lot going on here, right? The colors, his smile, his hair, the tie. I don't know if it's a preppy tie or not. There's a lot going. I want to see this in black and white.
No, that was the whole thing about that film.
Oh, I see.
That film's in
you shot
purple.
on film. See,
This is on film.
Okay, film. All right. You've been experimenting a lot lately with film.
I enjoy film. I like it because
good to see, Jeff.
It's either shoot or fail.
You know what I like? You're still a kid about photography. You haven't lost your innocence about photography. You haven't, which is good because you're shooting film. You're pushing yourself. You're in the photo gym all the time.
Do you know what I use film for? Actually,
What?
When I overshoot, you know what I mean? Like I shoot a job and I come back and I got about 1,000, 1,500 clicks maybe from an event. That's when I say to myself, you need to go shoot some film. You need some shot discipline.
Get into the essence again.
So I shot 1,500 shots on an event Saturday night.
Pictures.
Shot film Sunday. Did another event. Was actually 50% longer than the event I shot on Saturday night. Came back with 800 shots.
Oh.
That's what film does.
I like that. I like that. But just to land the point,
right.
so we can
back
wrap this up.
Back to you.
Just to
Enough
bring it
about me. What do you think?
I like to hear about you, but we digress. We're having fun. We're having too much fun here. So, see, this was actually, I took this right on the corner of.
Was that during the women's protest?
No. It was at the inauguration.
Oh, okay.
So it was on the corner of 7th and Penn.
Right.
And I think I need to make this point because I'm sure there'll be people who voted for Trump who watch the show here in the U.S. and I'm predicting this show will be seen all over the world.
45% of the population emphatically support this president.
Absolutely. But so let me just talk about this for a second, right? Because people are uncomfortable talking about this. I'm not. So it's a fact, right? The impeachment's going on, and we document it. So you're right. 45% of the of the electorate voted for him. And he won the popular vote, and he's the duly elected president of the United States of America. Fact. End of story.
Right.
Whether you like it or not is not the discussion at this point. So there are people who have a
That'll
strong...
be for Thanksgiving.
Exactly. No fights. Zen. There are a lot of people who care about his ability to be disruptive to what they see as the status quo. And even if someone disagrees with anybody who voted for Trump, whether they live in the suburb in Arlington, Virginia, and are a Republican lawyer or an executive for a firm in Washington, D.C., or live in Kentucky. I went to Kentucky and talked to Trumpers, people who proudly call themselves rednecks. I took pictures of these people, and they talked to me.
Of course. They're people.
They're people. I met a grandfather who told me he has a mixed-race son. He voted for Trump, and this is why. And they all have valid reasons. So here's why I am a student of behavioral economics, right? The theory is that people like Dan Ariely, who writes about irrational exuberance, not irrational, irrationality in decision-making, and how there's even rationality to irrationality, or what seems irrational to one person. And I like to understand what that is, because I think if you have a narrow view that's rooted in your perspective, you're actually missing richness, right? And I think it's important to be able to, especially now, where there's so much incivility
and it's very
in the world.
It's very shallow. These views right now are very, very shallow.
I think it's important to document people who are for Trump and people who are against Trump and people who don't give a damn about what's going on. And I think if more people did that with sensitivity, and so we're talking about photography and documenting these people, but it also goes into relating, right? So if more people would be open-minded about Democrats and Republicans in this dialogue, I think there's opportunity for more healing, right? More awakening. I don't even want to say civility, because I think we're in a period where everything is changing, right? We know what the impact of artificial intelligence would have on society, or we begin to learn.
Yeah.
We don't even know.
Just go to Instagram.
Voila. See what's going on there.
Slam the IG. Done. All right, Panama, next.
Well, who knows? The next thing is coming, right? I've heard rumors about a new thing that's coming.
TikTok.
Is that what it is? Yeah, it's coming, right? There's all these things. Wikipedia, the founder, Jim Wells, is starting something disruptive. So there's all kinds. The point is, a lot of rules are being rewritten, right? And I think it's important as a photographer to just go in, whether you have a point of view or you're just open and want to learn, to be open to what's changing and shifting, rather than just documenting a point of view. Well, I guess you could do that. But for me, I don't want to just document. My point of view is to learn and understand how people think and why they do what they do. And the byproduct of that inquiry is the photograph.
Right.
Honestly.
Interesting. It's part of your notes.
Voila.
Wow. Let's talk about something a little less political, which is, I think this is one of your DC pieces.
Yeah.
And it's the Nightrippers, right?
Yes.
Talk to us about what was the Nightrippers? It was a project you were doing, right?
Yes. I did this project a couple years ago. It was essentially focused on documenting interesting observations of characters of the night.
Yeah.
All kinds of people of the night.
Is this person trans?
I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell. But she had a self-assurance about her.
Yeah.
Which was very attractive. She was walking alone on 14th Street, coming from where Doimo is, so somewhere between S and T, and 14th, somewhere there.
In the hip place.
In the hip place, right?
I'm in the hip place.
In the hip place.
I'm near Shaw.
Exactly.
I'm cool.
I'm hip. I'm chic. And what's the new term for the hipster's over? Right? What's the new thing?
I'm just old and cranky.
Oh, wait, yuckies are the new thing. Yuckies.
Yuckies?
Yes.
Young urban
Yuppies.
creatives. No, actually, there's
yuckies?
Yuckies. Voila. Young
Yuppies
urban
is like the 80s.
Creative, not a young urban professional anymore. That's like, forget about your CS Sucker and your Sperry Top Sides. This is about yuckies, right? So you're a hipster and you're creative.
Yuckies, does that make us Okies?
We are originals. We are
the original. We were always this
OGs.
way.
We are humanists.
We're Gen X. That's what the problem
Voila.
is. Fuck you all.
Exactly.
We dropped the F-bomb. Next.
We wish you well. Peace
Checklist
and
complete.
love.
Almost.
No. We love everyone, right? But we judge sometimes we shouldn't. But this lady. So the point is, Chef, she had
She's
an
got a
energy.
look, man.
She had an energy which was very much rooted in her individuality, and I just had to approach her with my camera and take a picture, and we talked for a little while, and then she walked off. Yeah.
Well, what I love about this photo in particular is the shadow of the brim, but you managed to get her eyes. Were you shooting with a little pocket flash?
I had an LED light,
Okay.
which was recommended to me by one of my good friends, a great photographer, Ruddy Roy, Time photographer, Instagram photographer of the year in 2017, I think.
Right.
Someone I look up to as well.
So it's
I
a
think
little
I held
LED,
it. Yeah, I think
yeah.
I held it. I don't have that anymore, but I held it, and I think it was on my Fuji XT1 or 2, maybe. One of those.
Like a thing.
Yeah, no, I didn't. Yeah, it was one of those. Yeah, I think it was a Fuji. This is a Fuji
Notice I
camera.
know all of Nana's cameras.
Because we've shot a lot. We walked the streets of DC quite a bit. In fact, one of my most memorable times walking with you was the night of November 4th or November 5th.
Oh, when we watched the presidential election?
Well, we didn't watch. We were there.
At the White House.
We were right. We were there. We were everywhere. We were at the Trump Hotel. We were at the White House.
Remember that girl I photographed, the candle in her head?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That photo, I still look at that thing and it haunts me, man.
But the most memorable picture, your picture from that night, was with the lady and the gentleman. I think he had a tux on and she had a red dress or something
Oh,
like that.
yeah.
This was on 13.
with the garbage trucks behind them.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. It was very spooky, very kind of
Dystopian.
District 9-ish. Yeah.
Yes.
But anyway, the point is she had a sense about
I think
her.
you had that on the show.
Did he?
Yeah.
That picture.
Really?
Yeah, I think so,
Okay.
maybe.
It's a good one.
Enough about me. What about you?
Yeah. So this lady, self-assured, confident. It was just an instant attraction. I went for it, and she looked like she's the type of person you would not want to bother because she looks cooler than you. But she was open and she talked. And this is recent.
Fast forward. So now you have this project. You're in
Yeah.
you're in Seattle now.
Yes, I am in Seattle.
Your
Beautiful
new
city.
digs, you've been there now
Yeah.
for a year and a half, so
Yeah.
you're getting comfortable now.
Exactly. It's a lovely city. I love it. It's changed me in many ways. It's been great to me. I've met the love of my life. My life's changing in many great ways, and
Yeah.
I feel healthier and blessed.
You look healthier. You look about 40 pounds less than when you were living here.
The universe is being very kind to me, Jeff.
Yes.
Things are aligning.
Your arms
in
are
my
looking
way.
ripped up. I mean, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I'm getting back. I'm finding my upaya. Something's
is
happening. This ascension vibes is wicked. I'm telling you, bro.
So tell us about this
Yeah.
project. Yeah.
So this is interesting. So maybe I give a little precursor. This is all influenced by Greta Thunberg, the 16-year-old. She's Swedish, isn't she? Accidental activist.
Panama's nodding.
Yes.
Yes, that's who she is, right? And this was at a protest which was made up of high school kids.
Really?
I actually saw kids as young as 5 at that protest. It was the spookiest protest of it. This was in September. And I walked up to this bunch of high school people, and I was zooming in on this particular...
That's why they're so damn skinny.
They are very skinny.
God, I hate them.
They have not been hit by the caloric retention bug. But the thing is...
20 years of pizza. It's in my gut.
Kundalini yoga. But the thing is, there's something about this gentleman in particular. Well, all of them, of course, but him in the central figure with his headphones and the inscription in his pants. He had sort of a bit of an alternative, rockish.
Yeah, it's almost like
misfit.
it's now versus the 60s almost.
Exactly,
It's
exactly.
got that vibe.
Exactly right. And all these young people, I talked to them about why they were there, and a lot of them said because the adults are not here. And it's really inspiring to see all these young people, most of them, they're all children, aren't they?
Yeah.
Get on the streets because they feel like they have the power or the responsibility because no one else is stepping up for them. And so they're coming in with their imperfections. This is Generation Z, right?
Right.
Yeah, so like your daughter Soleil, like my 2 sons, they're all part of that generation.
Right. Yeah, you know what I love about this shot too? I mean, I know you shot it vertically, and obviously you have the gentleman who's the core subject and the girl right behind him, behind his right shoulder.
Yep.
But I actually think the thing that makes the shot, they are outstanding. And yes, you get the vibe, but it's actually the woman that's cut in the middle of the frame with the sunglasses. It's almost like you're looking at the photo and you're
Yep.
trying to figure it out.
Yep.
And then there's the attitude
There's
right
that.
there on the right.
There's
And
that.
it's like it's not a primary draw on the
Yep.
photo, but it's like the extra seasoning that takes it over the top.
Exactly. So I like to watch this when I like a movie.
And
right?
you would normally never
You never
crop
know.
a photo like that.
Exactly. But when I watch a movie, I like to watch the special features. And one of my favorite movies is a movie titled Children of Men by Inarritu, the Mexican director. And it's
Right.
about all that's happening in the world today. And there's a scene where Michael Caine plays this sort of ex-Woodstock hipster. And one of my favorite philosophers sort of talked about that scene and sort of pot-smoking hipster with all these ideas about the world, dissociated from reality, the reality of that time in that movie. And Slavoj Žižek, my favorite philosopher, described that character as an impotent activist, right?
Wow.
And for me, you have these kids, particularly if you look at the young lady to the left, right? Who's research, and you have this lady with a
With
peace
the
sign,
cloud,
right?
yeah.
And she looks
She
looks
looks like
significantly
15,
older. Exactly.
14.
Exactly. But then the
And
lady
the
with
one
the
on
peace
right,
sign,
yeah, adult.
who, according to these young people, will be part of the problem, right? You and I are part of the problem. She's part of the problem. And all these older people are part of the problem. She's there doing this, and is that a sign of impotence, or is it support, or
Or is it just photobombing?
Exactly. Or is it photobombing? Exactly. Let's not read too much into it. But looking at it now, it took me immediately to that comment by Slavoj Žižek about Michael Caine's character in Children of Men. And if anyone is interested in watching that movie, you should, because it really explains what's happening today. You get a real perspective about what could happen in sort of a post-AI, post-new rules world. Anyway, I don't want to digress too much.
Right.
Incredible movie.
Oh, you love it. You've seen it.
One of my favorites.
How many
as
times
well.
have you seen it?
At
Okay.
least 6 times.
Wow. What do you like about it?
Honestly, the continuous scenes with the action when he's dodging bombs and trying to get through the different abandoned
Buildings, yeah.
buildings. That entire sequence is
With the lady
the
with the baby?
baby.
Yeah.
With the
Oh
baby.
gosh, yeah. And it has religious symbolism, political
Oh
symbolism.
my God, there's so much symbolism. There's
Exactly.
so many allusions to what we could possibly be, succumb to in the future,
Exactly.
in the very near future. So,
So, Mr. Inarritu,
I'm gonna have to watch that
send me
movie.
some of your royalty money as I'm promoting your thing. And Jeff's podcast is going to become one of the number 1 podcasts in the world. Everyone's going to
That's
be
right.
watching it. Like, what's the other podcast that's out there that is making?
There is no
noise?
other podcast, Nana.
There
There's
isn't.
only this podcast.
There's only
Say
this
it
one. There is only this one. Yes.
Well,
And, yeah. I want to go on, Jeff. I'm really happy about this. This is really great, and I have a feeling that this could be big. This initiative you're working on.
that's fun. I like doing
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
We were talking about this earlier. I learn more from the people that appear on this podcast than I do just going out shooting alone. It's just fantastic. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
Nana, what's the best way for people to find you?
Yes. So you can find me on Instagram at I spell my name NANAGYESIE, and I'm always open to answering questions and dialoguing or collaborating or sharing information with anyone who's curious. And that's where you can find me. My website, nanajiphotography.com as well.
There you go.
Yeah.
And we'll make sure those links are in the show notes. And Nana, it's always a pleasure to shoot with you. And I'm going to be selfish and end this show so I can go shoot with you.
Can I just say one thing before we end?
Yes.
I want to wish peace and love to anybody watching this. And I want to tell everybody to, particularly photographers, when you're doing your work, do it with a sensitivity and a humility and a sense of responsibility. Tell the stories, tell them honestly, and use your lens for good.
There you go. I love it. And also, thank you, Panama.
not a problem.
All right. We're out of here.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Show Me podcast with Jeff Livingston. More shows,
Wow,
sponsorship, and donation information are available at showmepodcast.com.